Blessings, beloved. I am Mysterious Mercury, here as promised on this Friday, just a little bit past 4. However, I got some important messages to share with regards to the Mercury retrograde that we're about to begin. Mercury is going to go retrograde in about approximately a half an hour from now. And I want to talk about some of the ways in which we can take advantage of this energy. That this energy would be servant unto us and not master over us. Many people are very intimidated by Mercury retrograde. And it's simply a time when the external resonance of the mind slows down, which is why things seem to get out of place from a logistical perspective. Appointments can be missed, double bookings, technological difficulties, difficulties in structure and time, none of which is a bad thing. It's just the nature of this particular cycle. And so we want to be in that place of blessing this Mercury retrograde cycle, because it is meant to be servant unto us and not master over us. This Mercury goes retrograde at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. So it's Mercury, the mind, in the sign of Sagittarius, which is fire. And when Mercury is in Sagittarius, usually it wants to be very accelerated, because fire is a fast-moving element. And yet the retrograde says that things have to slow down a little bit. But the empowerment to us is that when vibrations slow down in terms of the outer mind, then vibrations become accelerated relative to the inner mind. The veils are much thinner between the dimensions. We can engage more deeply in angelic communion, ascended master communion, being in communion with the angels and the ascended masters that exist on the other side of consciousness, but also being in communion with that ascended master angelic reality of our own self. For an angel is an angle of God, and all of us are angles of God. At the central core of our being, we are the resonance of an angel. We don't always exemplify that in our behavior, and yet at the central core of being, that is the resonance that we hold. An angel, an angle of the beingness of source, of the beingness of God. Some of the energy of this Mercury retrograde is extremely strong because it is exactly squaring the planet Neptune, which is 13 degrees of Pisces. And the frequency of Pisces can be isolation, aloneness. So we might have the opportunity to look at what are the ways in which we feel isolated. What are the ways in which we feel separate from others? There is also an energy of the oneness, of the wholeness that is carried within the frequency of Pisces, because it is that energy which is without boundaries. And so in the highest resonance, this Piscean energy represents the omnipresence, that which is evenly present everywhere. And our presence is in actuality the meeting place for the omnipresence that we really are, because we are the resonance of one being. There is only one life in which we all share. Only one love through which we all care. Only one being in all that we're seeing. A slumbering giant is what we are freeing. When one is at peace, what a mighty release of breath unto life, that all may increase. Anyone's joy is everyone's right. The wise one's wisdom is the blind one's sight. There is only me in all that I see. The joining of life is what makes me free. And those who achieve and abundance receive is that part of me in whom I believe. When I am a winner, I honor all life. When I am a loser, all life shares my strife. Before life on this earth and my physical birth, I danced with the angels and knew my true worth. Yet all that I was, I really still am the God out of heaven, an innocent lamb. If I want to know who I truly be, seek all that there is, and I will find me. If you want to know who you truly be, seek all that there is, and you will find thee. All is well in the kingdom of this moment. Welcome to the first moment of the best of your life. And we want to set that intention that this is the first moment of the best of our lives. For we are the qualitative essence of the all that is. And with this frequency of Neptune and Pisces being activated by the Mercury retrograde, we have that capacity to tap into the oneness of the wholeness. There is a strong accentuation of empathicness, the tendency to feel other people's joys, pains, and sorrows as if they are your own. When picking up negative vibrations and unpleasant vibrations, it's important to do a disclaimer. Make a statement, an invocation. This is not mine. I don't have to own it. Sometimes that simple disclaimer causes the energy to melt away and roll off. But we have to do the disclaimer. But our being is wide open at this particular time. It's almost as if we are pregnant with a higher version of our own self. And we may be going through some labor pains as we get ready to give birth to this higher resonance of our own selfhood. And mamas who have given birth to children know, the pain that can exist within the birthing process, and yet the great joy that comes upon the birthing of that life force. As we will experience great joy as we give birth to this new version of our own selfhood, this new version of ourself, which is the expression of the whole universe individualized through us in such a way that only we can exemplify. Nobody can do the universe exactly like you. Nobody can do the universe exactly like me. Powerful times that we are living in. Mercury retrograde is a very inner vibration, going deep into that inner place, that central core. Again, connecting with the omnipresence. sometimes experiencing the pain of emotionality. Emotional sensitivity is real magnified right now. All of us may find ourselves being an ocean of emotion. And it's time to stop trying to run away from our emotions. You know, emotions are our access code, or feelings our access code to source, access code to God. We experience God through the resonance of our emotionality, through the resonance of our feelings. And our feelings tie into the heart mind. That part of our mind, when becoming subject to the guidance of our feeling nature, that just knows and doesn't even know how we know or why we know, but that we decisively know. Open your heart, beloved, to the highest resonance of your being. When we are faced with the frequency of the omnipresence, we have access to past, present, and future. We can commemorate the glory of our future, commemorate the glory of our past, bringing it into the harmonic convergence of the now memoration of this moment. Let it be that we open our hearts right now to the most exalted resonance of who we are in the eternal future of our experience. When we are walking this plane with a divine realization of our own divinity, of our God, goddesshood. The frequency of Pisces, the frequency of this Mercury in retrograde igniting Neptune in Pisces is also an opportunity to go deeper into art, deeper into music, deeper into spiritual devotion. The more we are aligned with our artistic expression, the more we are aligned with our musical offerings and our musical nature, as well as being about our spiritual practice, our spiritual devotion, we are then giving these energies a very constructive outlet through which to be expressed within us. Yes, we may go through some labor pains, and yet this is a time of enormous empowerment. So I'm going to offer this next tone with the intention of activating the most exalted, most powerful, self-loving, self-creating aspect of who you are, of who I am, of who we are. reality of who you are in your highest creative resonance. In order to be the most powerful creator that you could be on the individual level, you must own your oneness with all of the creative expression that is, was, or ever will be. For you are cellular co-creator of all that is created, because every being that creates something do so while being accompanied by a cellular counterpart that is the entirety of your soul and your soul adventure. We have had a hand in every amazing thing that is done in life. But when we walk in an attitude of separation, we don't get to benefit from the all-inclusiveness of this oneness of wholeness of being that we are. This oneness of wholeness, of abundance that we have access to. To be in exalted consciousness, to be in the resonance of love and the resonance of peace, is simply to allow those realities to have their way with us. Peace is all around, always. Love, all around, always. Abundance, all around, always. But we allow, and we must allow abundance, and allow love, and allow peace, and allow relationship at the intangible level first, because everything starts in the non-physical. That is the eternal resonance unfolding down the corridors of forever with God. And that which gives birth to form that then comes into crystallized manifestation. But sometimes we are tricked into only having appreciation for the manifestation, with no regard for the femifestation, or the intangible realm that gives birth to everything that is manifest. That means that every wonderful thing that we could possibly want, possibly have, is already ours. With this Mercury being retrograde in Sagittarius is also an opportunity to go deeper into the lessons that center around cultural and racial diversity. What is your attitude toward other cultures? What is your attitude toward other races? Is there resentment? Is there judgment? Is there negative projection? To resent the drop is to also resent the ocean. To resent any expression of life is to resent life at large, because you cannot separate life from life, as you cannot separate the ocean from the wave. So it's a time for us to begin to embrace our oneness with that which is racially and culturally different from our own self, because it is a representation of that part of ourself that is culturally and or racially different and distinct from us, but that projected something that exists out there to be a mirrored reflection of something very vital that is in here. So Mercury Sagittarius retrograde is bringing the opportunity for those lessons. It's also a very powerful time to write poetry. You can say in a poem what would otherwise require a sermon. It's a time to slow down the momentum of the speaking. See, the outer mind is meant to slow down. Sometimes momentum of speaking is meant to slow down. When the momentum of speaking slows down, then there's more spaces between the words. And the silent spaces between the words represent amazing telepathic communication. Listen to the communication that exists between the words. It's a time for empowerment. It's a time for deepening in this journey in relationship. In relationship, we come together to reveal one another to each other. When I relate to you, I learn and I see, and yet my greatest learning is always about me. Your greatest learning is always about you. And so let us grow in this journey of relationship. Every relationship that we have is actually a rendezvous that we're having with God. As I share this information with you, I'm actually having a rendezvous with God in a multifaceted way, because each and every one of you are your own version of the Creator. See, we are the universe keeping sacred company with itself through this moment of our joining. We are the universe feeling safe with itself through this moment of our joining. We are the universe honoring itself through this moment of our joining. We want to bring that attitude to all of our relationships. All relationships are actually a trinity. It's not just a pair. It's not just two people. In relationship, there is you, there is me, and then there is us. The us factor in relationship is the wisest. Us is wiser than you, and us is wiser than me. Us has got your back, and us has got my back. Us is not trying to get over on you, and us is not trying to get over on me. So we want to be in the resonance of the us factor of relationship. And this is very important with regards to the genders. It's time for there to be a ceasing of the war of the genders. So many negative energies sometimes transpiring between man and woman, and we've not always been that kind to each other. You know I've had horrendous unkindnesses hurled at women at times in my life. I remember being a teenager and hating my mother, literally hating my mother for several years as a teenager. Thank God I was able to get beyond that and come into a place of love, because in hating her, I was hating myself. And yes, she was alcoholic in my entire growing up, and I went through some really painful things, and sometimes she was treacherous and mean, and yet everything that she was that which I called her into my life to be, because I needed all of those lessons. So over and above any hurts that she extended my way, she was working for me. If I had not the needs, she could not have performed those deeds. I understand that now, and thank God in the greater measure of my life, we just had this wonderful relationship. I even counseled her, initiated her into Reiki, and did psychic astrology readings for her, and she would receive my counsel. But then there was that turbulence during those teenage years, and then coming on to my spiritual path, and learning how to connect with women, and brothers, we have to learn how to connect more deeply and more authentically with women, as women must learn to connect more authentically with men. We have this Me Too movement going on, and it's really wonderful that women are finding their voice and speaking up and saying the sacred no, because God knows women for long enough has said the unsacred yes. And that was one of my lessons. I had to learn how to listen to the whole woman. Even if a woman says yes with her mouth, but her body says no, listen to the body. Had to learn those lessons. Stumbled a lot of times, and did breach some boundaries, and did extend some unkindnesses. And I say to you, beloved women, I'm so sorry for those times that I went unconscious and breached your boundary and dishonored you or hurt you in any way whatsoever. And that was a part of my growing process. I am a richer being as a result of stumbling at times. Each of us are richer by virtue of our stumbling. We're more empowered, not just in spite of our negative experiences, but because of them, because we're meant to be served and empowered by everything. So brothers, let us take greater responsibility for the way that we deal with women. And when we find that we have breached a boundary, or we have been dishonoring in any way whatsoever, let us offer that sacred apology. Because women are the other side of our own nature, as we are the other side of a woman's nature. And if we are at war with the opposite side of our nature, then we're just at war with our own self. So one of the amazing opportunities now is the opportunity for forgiveness. We must forgive each other. and take responsibility for co-creating the need to learn and grow through pain. Nothing ever comes our way that we are not some co-creative part of, though much of our co-creating and creating can happen at an unconscious level. But we're just as responsible for our unconscious creations as we are for our conscious creations. And so when it's time to say the sacred no, because the sacred no is in alignment with our integrity, let us say that sacred no. And beware of saying the unsacred yes. That's saying yes without fullness of heart. And we men especially want to be listening for that unsacred yes, or that yes that's not a full yes. I know in my human stumbling, any measure of yes, I would pay heed to that because I was into what was it that would gratify my own human ego. Part of the lesson, part of the growth. Thank God I've gotten beyond that. So let's listen for, when there's a yes, is it a full-on sacred yes? If it's only partial, then sometimes, it's good to just step back, be in the sacred pause. But most of all, men and women, let us be forgiving of each other. If you don't forgive the past, you can't trust the present, and you then attract a future untrustworthy and unpleasant. Trust and forgiveness, the sacred twins. Trust brought me to this earth, to heaven, forgiveness of sins. The rage of resentment blocks the lessons I must learn in the darkest of relationships, then constantly return. The weapon of distrust breathes the horrors of my pain, and distrustful ones will come to me until I trust again. Forgiveness is the master key, opening the cage to set me free from distrust, misery, pain, and strife from those I feel have wrecked my life. Who can do a thing to me that I myself did not create? Will I place blame outside myself, or was it me who wove my fate? The past I reap, the future I sow, the present collects the debts I owe. If I had not the need, there would be no dirty deed, much wisdom to be gained from the center of my pain. Forgiveness is a must, for it teaches me to trust. Suspicion is a hungry beast that rips away my inner peace. Let go now of past resentment toward fallen love of yesterday. If not, my past repeats itself and steals the joy of this great day. If I don't forgive the past, I can't trust the present, and I then attract a future untrustworthy and unpleasant. Forgiving the past, trusting the present, making the future sweet and pleasant, blessing the darkness, making it right, reversing the tide, and freeing the light. I think we want to have a little bit of didgeridoo here. I've got this one that I love. I usually play it. I do a didgeridoo healing on myself. So this is to help facilitate this great healing that we're all collectively co-creating and co-invoking. Oh, praise Goddess in her holy dwelling and on her mighty throne. Oh, my Goddess in heaven. Whew. Felt really good. So, I am Mr. Miraculi, loving you with the passion of heaven. And I want to share with you a couple of events that I'll be participating in coming up soon on the 23rd, day after Thanksgiving. That's Friday from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Walk-In Wellness here in Phoenix, Arizona. Be doing an amazing event of Sound, Reiki, and Ascension Festival, which is going to culminate with a wedding to the human self, the human self and the ascended self. Going to be an amazing experience. You can get all of the information on that event and get your tickets on Facebook. You know, when it's full to capacity, you know, it will be sold out. So you might want to get your tickets in advance. I'd love to see you there so that we can be in person if you happen to be here in the Phoenix, Arizona area. I'm also doing a Reiki training, first and second level. That will be on December 1st and 2nd. A small intimate training. I've done so many large training. Matter of fact, the last one I did was 37 people. It's a great big training. This will be for those of you who would like a little smaller, more intimate setting inside which to learn. And I'd love to pass on that frequency of my Reiki. So if you want to inquire further into that, the number that you can call is +1 928 254 9535. That is 928 254 9535. My website is astarius.com, ASTARIUS.com. And you can also get more information on the Reiki training on Facebook as well in the event area. I also do psychic astrology readings and transmissions, you know, with didgeridoo, vocal harmonics. I do this work in person or by Skype. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, we can do some work. I would love to serve and empower your expansion in that way. Also on my website, I have a donation button. Thank you, all of you who have just felt that movement in your heart to just offer a donation. Thank you so much for that. I don't take that lightly. You know, it is much, much, much appreciated, especially to a self-producing artist. Also, go to my website. Here's some of my sound clips, up to about 21 CDs now and a couple of books. You can hear sound clips. You can also read excerpts from the book. Everything that I recite are things that basically I have written by the grace of God, Goddess Absolute. So that's all of my commercials. I love you so much, you know, and I want you to bless this Mercury retrograde cycle and make the space for it to bless you back. Aho, Ashe, Amen, Namaste, Hotep, in Lakesh, Alakin, Shalom, Satnam, Hariom, Rastafari. Our sacred juices are cooked and infinitely expanding. Juicefari, Blissfari. We're going to always have many miles on our smile, wiggle in our giggle, tingling in our boots, laughter ever after, put in our strut, wings on our butt, always rising up, for up at the top there's room for all. It's just the bottom that's crowded, y'all, and so it is, and so it shall eternally be. I love you so much.